next on the programme, if you can imagine a cross between perhaps, I don't know, George Orwell's 1984 and the Tom Cruise film Minority Report, then you might get an idea of what you might be able to see very soon. It could describe the story of the trial written by novelist Franz Kafka. Leicester University's theatre actually promised an unusual adaptation of a man arrested and prosecuted by a remote, inaccessible authority, with the nature of his crime revealed neither to him nor you and I as the reader. Well, let's find out more about this production, because joining me in the studio is Edward Spence, who's one of the co-directors, and the lead actor, Ivo de Jager. Thank you both for joining me on the programme this afternoon. I was a little confused, if I'm totally honest, about what really to expect.
We're only 2 days off, and even we don't know.
Phew!
But yeah, no, it's a very complex play. Both in its staging and in its script, it's very difficult to actually find an entry point into where it all begins to make sense, especially for the main character Kay. But it's essentially about the inaccessibility of the law, the often corrupt elements that you find in it, and just the endless bureaucracy that you have to sort of navigate before you can find an answer in. Or, you know, whether you do find an answer.
That's the thing, even though it's a very odd play to watch and to read and just to experience and in general.
And to be in.
and yes, it's still relatable to anyone who's ever had to fill in any forms to like get a package, or just if you ever try to do anything bureaucratic, then you'll watch this and you'll be like, yes.
Because this is Stephen Berkoff's adaptation of Franz Kafka, who originally wrote it.
Yes, yeah.
So, how easy was it when you, as you say, I was confused. You guys are kind of trying to get through it, but it's about bureaucracy. How easy is it to kind of work through and try and turn it into a stage production?
It's difficult because Berkoff at once has a very unique style. It's very physical. It's very abstract. It's very I guess you can find a lot of inspiration and links between his style and, say, the silent films of sort of 1920s and everything like that, and German expressionist cinema and everything like that. So Cabinet of Dr. Caligari and stuff like that. But at the same time, as a text, it's quite impenetrable, because there are a lot of stage directions which you do have to really sit down and think about. So you have the cast creating the set. A lot of the time we have no set, we have no props. The cast create it all just purely through their body language and physicality. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. Ed very rightly said it's very reminiscent of expressionist cinema, which was influenced by the stage. So it's very cyclical, and that means that as actors we sort of have to take an already very exaggerated style, because obviously you have to exaggerate all your movements on stage so it's visible and understandable, and that's on film, and then we have to take that and make it bigger, which is very exciting and interesting as an actor. Obviously, I mean, I play Joseph Kay, who's the only like normal person, and even I have to sort of amp it up, even if I am like the most naturalistic actor, I think. And no,
it's a very stylized piece, and hopefully quite uncomfortable piece to watch. It shouldn't be.
It's confrontational. Yeah,
it shouldn't be a pleasant experience to watch. So the audience shouldn't necessarily enjoy it, but certainly experience it, and it should make them think. Hopefully.
And hopefully, yeah, exactly. And it's productions like this kind of really absorb you as the person watching it, as the theatre goer. It's not always about sort of being entertained. It's about, touching those other senses, isn't it? It's about feeling tense, perhaps. It's watching a great movie, a great thriller on the television, same sort of thing.
Yeah, it's about making you feel, which I think is what art should ultimately be about. It should make you feel or reflect, and hopefully both of these things will happen when you go see the trial.
Because you're doing this, you're using a lot of physical theatre as well, aren't you, in this?
Yeah, there are a lot of bits watching it, despite having been the one to sort of be like, okay, try this out and everything, even just sitting back and watching it can be quite a chilling experience at times, just watching all these people in makeup and everything, just sort of assaulting all of your various senses in various parts of the play and then having moments of complete silence. And no, we've tried to make it as full an experience as possible in terms of both the visual, the
auditory.
Sorry, words are escaping me today. But no, it's hopefully a fairly immersive experience and should leave the audience a little bit shaken, if somewhat befuddled. But yeah.
Because I'm intrigued, because Franz Kafka, from what I understand, the story was never actually completed. Is that right?
Well, he was a man who had a very complicated mental health history, basically.
Yeah.
And he was very unsatisfied with his work, so a lot of his work just remained unfinished and was published after he died in 1924 by his best friend, who just edited and just published everything. After Franz Kafka said, "Please burn everything," so that was, thank you, but also disrespectful. So yeah, it was finished by someone else, which is why it's it works for the play, and in the sense that it makes it even more confusing.
But
and challenging as well, I guess.
And challenging, yeah.
But it
in a fun way.
Yeah, in the book, it's a very anticlimactic ending. Without giving anything away, but it is very anticlimactic because nothing happens at the end. And at once, that's really unfulfilling as both a reader and an audience member. But at the same time, as Ivo said, for the actual play itself, when it is a play about being unable to achieve anything within the paperwork and the bureaucracy and just the
that relates quite well to Kafka himself as well, because he had a desk job, and he hated it. That's what most of his work is about, is that, and also he felt very unfulfilled as a person.
Yeah.
So when you're watching it, you're sort of looking at his perspective of himself. And Joseph K, even his name, K, Kafka claimed the letter K for himself, so keep that in mind. It's interesting.
Yeah.
It's really a collaboration between Berkoff and Kafka when you're watching it. Yeah.
But as an audience member, then, does that give, because there wasn't an official ending, I guess, to Kafka's written work, does that then give you license to finish it how you like, to some degree? As a piece of theatre, I expect there to be a beginning, a middle, and an end.
Yeah, the end we have is very open to interpretation, I think. We leave a lot of hints, we leave a lot of suggestions, we have a lot of recurring themes throughout, both in religious imagery and so the more office-like environment, and we have a lot of lighting cues and visual cues and physical cues that kind of will hopefully prompt the audience to relive those same emotions at various points during the play. But at the very end, we have a callback to several other moments during the play, which hopefully tie it all together, at least in a symbolic way, if not necessarily in a narrative way.
Yeah, and when it comes to whether we're allowed to do that, it's a very interesting question, and opinions do differ, but I feel that art is in its nature collaborative. It's very hard to, unless you were raised in a bubble, it's impossible to do something 100% original, and that doesn't detract from it at all. It just, you build on something else to make something beautiful, and I think we're doing that. So.
Well, look, good luck with it, because I'm fascinated now hearing about this. When can people come and see it?
It's from the 11th to the 13th, so it's this week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
7:30.
7:30?
Yes, in the University of Leicester Student Union in the Arc.
Hang on, I have...
He's just getting the information out.
There we go. I should have memorised this beforehand. For general public tickets, it's £8. For concessions, it's £5, and for LUTheatre members, it's £4.
Brilliant.
And just to quickly plug another LUT play, Entertaining Mr. Sloane is performing the following week on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Well, look, break a leg, as they say. Thank you both for joining me on the programme. Good luck with it.
Thank you very much
Spence.
for having us.
And Ivo, the Jager part in the parts they play in The Trial, written by the novelist Franz Kafka.